This is a folklore story about longing, memory, and hope. The woman who waited by the sea. They say love never dies. But in Japan's coastal town of Onamachi, there's a woman who proves that love doesn't forget either. Every year she walks the path to the old fire tower. The cold sea breeze on her face and a red scarf fluttering in the wind. Her eyes constantly scanning the horizon for a man whom the world believes is long gone. But here she waits, standing still in time, like clockwork, waiting for the love who never came home. Her name was Sada. She was 17 when she fell in love with a boy named Osuke. With his ink-stained fingers and wild dreams of escaping their sleepy seaside town. Together, they were the kind of couple that made strangers smile. Too loud, too passionate, and too young to know how fragile happiness really is. Reflecting back on their love during this time, they were young, full of energy, with the sounds of birds, laughter, and summer cicadas. He'd write her poems on rice paper and fold them into crayons. She'd leave tangerines at his window every morning because he said they tasted like her smile. They carved their initials into the fire tower's wooden railing at the very top of the tower because Osuke said it was where you made wishes that really mattered. He promised Sada he'd return before the end of summer. That summer came and went, and Osuke, he didn't return. They said he drowned, that his fishing boat capsized in a storm, that no body was recovered. The only thing was his scarf, that somehow washed ashore like a broken vow. Most people grieved, and then moved on. But Sada returned to the tower, year after year, with a scarlet scarf around her neck and a candle in her hand. She believed he would come back because he'd promised. And Osuke? Well, he'd never broken a promise to her. It is now present day, a bit colder, and 20 years later, she is still climbing those steps. Now, a woman in her 30s, hair longer, eyes wiser, but her heart still 17. Locals called her the Ghost Widow, and tourists whispered she is cursed. Sadly, even her own mother gave up on begging her to stop visiting the old fire tower. But today something changes. As Sada reaches the top, to her surprise, there's someone already there. A man, back turned, looking out to sea, tall and still. When he turns around, she gasps, because it's him, it's Osuke. Same eyes, same hands, but older, weathered, and haunted. Sada said with a soft, shaky voice, "Osuke?" Osuke, quiet and stunned, replied, "You waited for me." He begins to tell her his story, that he survived the storm that fateful day, that he washed up in a village far away, with no memory, no name. It wasn't until 3 months ago, when the dreams started, of a tower, of a girl, of tangerines and paper cranes, and a promise of which Osuke can only recall fragments. They sit on the same spot as before, the initials still there, faded but real. They talk for hours, of everything and nothing, She tells him about the years that passed, the jobs she quit because they took her too far from the sea, and the people who tried to love her but could never reach her heart. And when he touches her hand, it's like time crumbling in on itself. She wants to believe, to scream, to cry, to kiss him like no time has passed. But something is wrong. He remembers the town, her name, the tower, but not her, not the taste of her laugh, or the poems she read, or the nights they planned forever. Because in the end, Osuke came back, but not the boy she loved. He didn't. Sada whispered, "I waited for you." Osuke replied, "And I came, just not as the man you remembered." They part with an understanding that some loves return to not rekindle, but to release. Sada walks down the tower one final time, not empty, not broken, but whole. And before she leaves, she folds one final paper crane, placing it gently where their initials once were. You lived, and yet I mourned you still, a ghost of love against my will. You came back breathing, eyes the same, but didn't speak my name. She closes her eyes and turns towards the sea. To live. She doesn't look back, not at the tower, not at Osuke, because the past doesn't need to be erased to let the future begin. At the base of the tower, a child runs past holding a paper crane, and for the first time, Sada smiles at the symbolism instead of mourning it. She is at peace knowing that love sometimes returns, not to stay, but to remind us we're still capable of loving again. She opens her phone, books a train ticket, somewhere new, somewhere hers,